Hello, my political napalm friends. My apologies for the slight vacation in content on the channel. Um, I have to take my lumps for that. There have been so many stories coming in and out of the news cycles lately that it has been hard to find the time to take care of certain topics to the level that they deserve, and then it's already 24 hours later, and then it's out of the cycle and you feel sort of behind. One of the ones that I definitely had wanted to talk about a couple weeks ago was the Sound of Freedom movie and all the rigmarole that was attached to that, the pro and opposing sides of it. But it was coming so fast and furious in regards to that one, it was sort of hard to keep up. But this one here concerning Craig Robertson, this is definitely a topic that I would like to talk about, as it is more than just a news item. It is intriguing what narratives are spinning out from it, both for the people who are unconcerned that Craig Robertson was shot and the people who believes it is a two-tier system within America, and we'll get into that a little bit. So the news with Craig Robertson was he was a man who lived out in Utah. I do believe he was out in Provo, Utah, and he was shot after the FBI raided his home early Wednesday morning. He was shot and he was killed in the process. And you might be wondering, well, what was it that this man did? And that is, he made numerous and consistent threats online to hurt, assault, maim, kill Biden as the president of the United States, Kamala as the vice president of the United States, other members of Biden's entourage, and the people who are currently going after Trump and prosecuting him in his various indictments. This is a man who was quite well armed, and in one of the posts recently, 3 days before Biden's visit to the area, I hear Biden is coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit, cleaning the dust off the M24 sniper rifle, and the FBI has been investigating him since April and deemed the threats that he was making online to be credible, quote unquote. The U.S. Secret Service said the agency was aware of the FBI investigating him, and said that any questions should go to the FBI directly. So now that this has happened, and this man has been shot and killed, we don't fully know the details on it yet because we have not seen any footage. Over on Raw Story, there is a neighbor who claimed to have been filming the outside of the house. It is dark. Unconfirmed footage at this point in time. I haven't been able to find out if this is actually truly the footage of the event or just footage of another FBI or police or SWAT raid on a house that is simply masquerading as the actual events. But Raw Story seems to have it, and it is a lady who is filming from about maybe a house away, and you can see the typical FBI police trucks and vans, and you can hear them yelling something, and they're at the door, and the door busts open, and you hear what sounds like a flashbang. The woman filming goes, "Oh," and the camera or the phone shakes a little bit, and then that is where the video cuts off. So it again could be the actual footage. It might not be. We've certainly seen instances recently this year in the news where the footage that makes the rounds on social media isn't actually the footage. The person who was choked out on the New York subway, there had been some footage going around of another subway dweller harassing subway riders that people were trying to push off as the person who was choked out, but it was actually a different person and it was from a couple of years ago. So unconfirmed footage might be out there of some of the beginning parts. Right. So what has spun out from this particular event with Craig Robertson over here is that you're getting this narrative of, well, what happened to the people who threatened Trump and why was this person killed, but these other threats upon Trump did not go this far when they happened. And Twitter has been abuzz with the one narrative that is like, well, this is like an Ashley Babbitt. Oh, well, you faffoed this one. Okay. There has been the other narrative that is, well, look at all these ones that happened to Trump. Why did these go essentially untouched, unanswered, uninvestigated? And then there have been people more in the middle picking apart the two narratives and comparing each other. So this thread here by Brian Krasenstein on Twitter, I think brings up a lot of it, and then we will get into I meme therefore I am's post on it and dive into that. As he says, Robertson was an average 75-year-old man and had an arsenal of weapons at his home. The last I checked, it didn't take much to pull the trigger of a semi-automatic AR-15 like he said he would. There has been some reports that he was considered the local teddy bear, quote unquote, in his church. Also, that the man needed to walk with a cane, and I think he may have had a special needs child. I don't know if the special needs child was in the house. God help that child if he was and had to be party to all of this. That is one of perhaps the biggest pieces of sadness in this, is if that child was in the home and had to bear witness to this event Wednesday morning. That could have been horrific and I would say life scarring, mentally scarring there. He recently posted on his social media, "Hey FBI, you still monitoring my social media? Checking so I can be sure to have a loaded gun handy in case you drop by again." It is reported that the FBI had visited this man once before. This seems right here to be a bit of a smoking gun, no pun intended, as this is very antagonistic to people who had given him a chance once before. If this portion is true, then it's certainly not a good look for what happened to Craig Robertson. A bear was poked once and the bear didn't exactly wake up, and now you've just gone and stuck a stick of dynamite under the bear. Truly, what do you think is going to happen to be taunting the FBI like this so brazenly and openly? And of course, one of the biggest comparisons that is happening now is comparing what Robertson did online in his posts to what Kathy Griffin did. And we'll get on this particular comparison in just a moment. But Krasenstein says Griffin, a well-known comedian, was also questioned by the FBI. True. She didn't threaten to kill them. She didn't have a bunch of guns in her home, and she didn't threaten to use anything against the president or the FBI. She didn't obsessively post threats on social media. Here is a Facebook post from Craig Robertson, and I believe his Facebook is now no longer available. Perhaps Utah will become famous this week as the place the sniper took out Biden, the Marxist. And yeah, there isn't a date on that one. This one was reposted. So he posted it on the 27th, and he posted it. He reposted it a few days ago, and this one may have been within 24 hours of his being the victim of the FBI raid. So here we are with a meme therefore I am over on Twitter, and he is taking the other tact and saying that once more FBI has proven that the law doesn't apply to all if it comes to threatening a president. Elites and celebrities are exempt. If they threaten to hurt or kill Trump, they don't get raided and kill like a 75-year-old man in Utah who displayed his hate online for Biden. So at least he cops to the hate part over there. But okay, Kathy Griffin beheads Trump in a graphic photo. Let's talk about that one. We do know she was already visited by the FBI once. They did take that seriously. Did she continue to do that? Was she armed? Did she consistently use social media to post violent threats against multiple people in Trump's orbit? Was she armed? Could she have gotten access to arms? All of that is no. And to be fair, Kathy Griffin's career was dumpstered after that moment. It created enough of an outrage, sort of a Sinead O'Connor ripping up the Pope picture moment, that she bottomed it out. Her career, I don't think, has ever truly recovered from this moment, even if you were of the belief that the majority of people in the United States would be considered not Trumpers. Whatever the breakdown is in the United States that you believe to be the case of 50-50, 60-40, whatever, her career certainly tanked. Even if you think Hollywood is full of a bunch of elite liberals and everything, her career definitely took a nosedive after that moment. Speaking of Sinead O'Connor, rest in peace, Sinead. You got so much hate for what you did on Saturday Night Live in the 90s, and perhaps you were maybe a little bit ahead of your time back then, and not enough people realized it. But boy, you want to talk about somebody getting canceled toot sweet. You have Sinead O'Connor. Madonna, I've thought a lot about blowing up the White House. That's actually going to be in this video down here. Snoop Dogg fake shoots a Trump-style looking clown in the head of a music video. Robert De Niro says, I'd like to punch him in the face. So the Madonna one,
yes,
is right here.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
The rest of that actually says, she says some more stuff. She goes into a quote of a poet and says, but I choose love. So that clip makes it far worse than what it actually is. You actually have to go there and listen to the full clip about it. This one, in that shortened form, I would actually consider potentially a threat. And I would say, to be safe, whoever was in the White House at a time a comment like this was made, yeah, I would maybe throw an investigation her way. When you hear the full quote, it gets mitigated down a little bit and seems less likely to actually be true. But similar to the beheading one with Kathy Griffin, regardless of what political spectrum, where you fall on the political spectrum, I would think that one, I would maybe have a conversation with Madonna on that one and be like, yeah, you maybe don't want to do that one again. I wouldn't raid her house or anything, but I think we would have a conversation. However, when you go further into the clip, it is clearly more of a statement than an actual plan of a course of action. Here's the Snoop Dogg one. So, sort of a fake prop gun there with the bang flag coming out of it and a clown Trump. Not the greatest of looks. If I was in Snoop's camp, I would have avoided that imagery, knowing full well the percentage of people that was going to piss off. And Snoop probably thinks they're not going to be his fan anyway. I don't think I would have gone with that in a video if I was in Snoop's camp. It's a bit edgy. It could have been perhaps a little bit more of a highlight on being fake, like the gun sound I wouldn't have gone with. the gun and the bang flag, sort of like the Joker in a Batman comic, that I probably would have let go, but the sound effect sort of adds a bit of a realism to it that I think pushes it a little far. Here, the Johnny Depp one of when is the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I want to clarify, I'm not an actor. I lie for a living. However, it's been a while.
Yeah, this is I don't actually agree with that one either. I think Johnny Depp's one was a bit of a bridge too far, and you could make the case that that one could be inciting, intended to plant the idea in people's heads. That one I'm not particularly a fan of either. Robert De Niro saying I'd like to punch him in the face. No. That's not something I would consider a threat, nor would I think anybody would need to have a conversation with him. The Kathy Griffin one, yes. And that happened. The Snoop Dogg one, I would have toned it down a little bit. The Johnny Depp one, yeah, that one's a bit far. Robert De Niro saying he wants to punch him in the face. No, I wouldn't consider that one to be a threat whatsoever. Shakespeare in the Park stabbing a Trump to death in the performance of Julius Caesar. This one certainly becomes a tough one to talk about, because you could say similar to the Romeo and Juliet movie that happened years and years ago, with Leonardo DiCaprio and the redhead whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. I think she was in My So-Called Life. That if you wanted to say, well, this was just a modern representation of Caesar held in modern times, Trump is the president, therefore, it fits. I would say the creative license over there you could potentially use to get out of this one. Again, I think that one would be highly controversial and similar to the Snoop Dogg one and the Kathy Griffin one. Edgy enough to perhaps maybe have some conversations about finding a way of toning it down a little bit. I get it that it makes a statement. That one I'm not. That one I think, again, is a little too far. Pick up a goddamn brick if Trump fires Robert Mueller. No, Mickey Rourke threatening to beat Trump with a baseball bat. He can suck his mail apparatus. If it was just the quote, that'd be one thing. The threat with the baseball bat, yes, I would say that one should bear a little bit of a looking into. Rapper YG, I don't know what the threat was in that one. Marilyn Manson killing a Trump in a music video, I'd have to check the context of that one to be sure. Rapper Everlast, aka the lead singer of House of Pain, I'll punch him in his face. Again, that's not credible on that one. Larry Wilmore jokes about suffocating Trump with a pillow they used to kill Scalia. I would have thought it would be funnier if it was suffocating Trump with a My Pillow. That would be dark comedy and a little edgy over there. I don't think the Larry Wilmore one would be particularly bad if that was the context. And Sarah Silverman suggests the military could help overthrow Trump. I would like to know the context on that one. I haven't researched it, but this is also the person who was being told he should use the military to stay in power, sort of help prevent the quote-unquote overthrow of Trump over there. So some of these comparisons here to attempt to, hey, let's talk about the both siding of this issue, I don't agree with, and I certainly don't think they compare. The Kathy Griffin one is the one that is sort of in the lead of the conversation right now. None of these go to the level that Craig Robertson did. None of these consistently push a violent agenda and a sort of representation of a maniacal mind. Kathy Griffin did her public apology for it. Her career tanked. She did get an FBI visit. I think generally in the list, she was one of the first out of all of these to do something so public. None of them compare whatsoever to a man who had the ways and means to potentially execute upon the threats he was making. Are you telling me Kathy Griffin is going to get close enough to Trump to have done that? I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous and insane. But she's paying the price and has paid the price for that. These others, where was there potentially the ability for these people to do the things they're saying? How was Madonna actually going to blow up the White House? Let's see what some of the others. Mickey Rourke getting within baseball bat range of Trump. A little bit more potentially in the realm of possibility than some of these others. I wouldn't have said the Mickey Rourke one, that's for sure. But some of these other ones, they don't compare. They're not people with a house full of guns taking pictures and posting them online with the guns, with a camouflage suit, get told you should probably stop what you're doing over here, and then just go like right back at it and taunting. And then today, or actually yesterday, here with Marjorie Taylor Greene, in the midst of all of this, listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
It's treason. Our country, our Constitution has been stomped under the feet.
Yep.
Let's see where she says it.
According to the Bible, like you said, we got to get praying for the country. And we got people got to be tried for treason.
And death penalty. Well, I think we're ending on a right note. Listen, thank you guys for sticking around.
Okay, so
And I want to yes, sir. I'm going to do one more. Yes, sir.
what the guy is saying there in the audience is he is saying that we should be using violence and we should execute these traitors and Democrats and everything. And Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I think we're ending on the right note. I mean, that is a tacit acceptance of what is being said there. That is an agreement on it. And you could say, no, that's sort of the laughter of an uncomfortable person in the face of something edgy and maybe not wanting to call the person out, be like, you shouldn't do that, embarrass them in a room full of people that have a like mind. And, maybe she's uncomfortable. If you want to talk about that in politics and how to handle something like that, just go look at John McCain. Go look at what he would say when he said, I lost, Obama won, and people started booing. And he was like, now, I'm going to work with Obama. He won. That's it. Fair and square. And when a lady in an audience stood up and said these like racist birther things to him, and John McCain said, no, ma'am, Obama is a good man. Obama is not a scary person. You can correct behaviors and still not lose yourself in doing it. Marjorie Taylor Greene could have sat there and said, let's not do this rhetoric. I'm sure at that point in the day, she'd probably heard about this event, and which makes it a lot worse. But if she didn't, you could sit there and say, this rhetoric, this violence is unacceptable and paints Republicans consistently in a bad light, calling for this kind of violence. Do we want to be like the left? Do we want to be like Antifa and the BLM, quote unquote, riots and cities burning down and everything? There's still actually a way of saying, I understand your sentiment and correcting the behavior a little bit that is different from, yeah, oh, we're ending on a good note over there and then causing applause to happen. So the quote unquote both sidesing of this isn't really nearly as both sidesing as you think. You consistently see this issue with the threat of violence in politics and who is the more violent side and the constant comparison of it. And you could see it here with this Robertson thing. Some of the comparisons there, I mean, some of these are just plain idiotic. Comparing Robert De Niro, I'd like to punch him in the face, to a man with a house full of guns and a forest camouflage suit, and saying I'd like to put us on the map as where a sniper was. I mean, that is far more credible and far more dangerous, especially knowing that Biden is coming into town, than Robert De Niro saying I'd like to punch him in the face. I mean, really? You think the FBI should go and raid Robert De Niro's home when he made a physical body threat, not a weapon threat, a body threat, and say I'd like to punch him in the face? So what do you guys think about what happened to Craig Robertson? What do you think about this attempted comparisons to things that were said against Trump? Do you agree with me that perhaps some of the ones on this list here should have warranted a response to, just similar to the Kathy Griffin beheading one? Or do you think these are all simply free speech things? Could these fall under free speech over here? And it gets, talking about free speech gets really, really dicey when you are potentially making threats, incredible threats. And how much protection does humor and parody actually provide in these circumstances over here? And yeah, let me know your thoughts on what happened with Craig Robertson. And if his child was in the house for all this, say have whatever thought and whatever prayer you want for that child if he was in the home. Hopefully he was not. But yeah, let me know what you think about this down below, and I will see you in the next video.